In this video, I will show you how to install the Firegas 24-inch range hood under cabinet mount, recirculating only, during which I encountered a lot of problems and confusion, so this video will probably make you want to not buy it. The first thing to do is to remove the screws holding the protective cardboard. Next, pick a hole to run your power cable through and knock it out using pliers or a hammer or a screwdriver or all the above. It took a bit of effort to do so, and some people complained about this in the reviews. I did both the holes in the top and back because I wasn't quite sure yet if I was going to run the power cable behind the cabinet or through them. All the next steps in the instructions besides mounting and power cord are for ducted option only, although they do not tell you this, nor does the instructional video that I found on YouTube. I do not have any ducts to connect to, so I only had the option of the recirculating option. Now you will need to mount your wall cable to your wall cabinet or to the wall and install a power cord. They provide 2 paper stencils for you to tape to your wall or cabinet to tell you where to drill the holes for your anchors depending on how you want to mount it. If you wish to mount to your cabinet, you will also want to drill a hole for your power cord in the bottom of your cabinet unless you prefer to leave them dangling behind your range hood. I used a step drill to make the holes. I was in the middle of installing my wall cabinets, so this made it much easier to drill my holes before mounting the cabinet itself. After marking the holes, I was very lucky to realize that the holes for mounting the anchors on the paper stencil do not align with the holes on the Microhood, as you can see here, so you're better off just using the hood itself to position on the cabinet and use as a stencil. What a freaking joke! You have to buy a separate power cord that you connect to the wires of the Microhood. But there's a major problem. The one that they tell you to buy is the incorrect type. This one has a round end for the green ground wire, and there is no ground screw for that wire to connect to. And the instructions tell you to connect color to color of all 3 wires, meaning white to white, green to green, and black to black, and then to cap them off with wire nuts, which are also not provided. So I had to buy a second power cord that was compatible and had an electrician friend of mine do the connection part to avoid making any mistakes. I was able to find one on Amazon that was 9 feet long, so I could run it all the way to my outlet through 2 other wall cabinets after cutting holes in the sides of those cabinets as well. Also, they tell you to install a rubber grommet that protects your wires from the sides of the metal hole, but this was also not provided. In addition, there is no cover plate for the wiring inside the range hood, which basically means you have to bundle the connection somewhere else, such as inside the bottom of your wall cabinet, and you're on your own to make some kind of cover for those wires or just wrap them up in electrical tape, as my friend did. This was another complaint that I saw in the reviews on Amazon. Next is the installation method of the screws that hold the Microhood in place. They provide you with 4 plastic wall anchors and 4 screws, and their instructional video tells you to use those for both installation types, wall installation as well as cabinet mount. This is a bit strange because those wall anchors are deeper than any cabinet would, so they literally protrude through the bottom of the cabinet into the space above it, as you can see, unless you have an IKEA cabinet, which requires you to put cover panels under all your wall cabinets, which I decided not to do because that would require drilling holes through that layer as well, which I did not feel like doing. So I plan to replace those anchors and screws with another type of fastener, such as wing nuts. Next, they say to screw in the screws about 2/3 of the way into the anchors, mount your range hood over the screws, and then slide it into place where the keyhole gets smaller. Then tighten the screws. If those screws become even a little loose, you run the risk of pulling out the Microhood and pulling it out and it dropping, such as when you're removing the filter, as it is tough to remove and requires some yanking, which is another reason to use wing nuts. Next, they also failed to mention in the paper instructions They only mention online that you must remove the aluminum grease filter if you are doing the recirculating option and replace it with a carbon filter, which they do not provide. The model number they tell you to buy online was not available for purchase at the time, but their online customer service provided me with an alternative option from the Sndoas brand, which I purchased and installed, but now that one is no longer available, but the Firegas brand is, so make sure to buy a few backup for those as well for future shortages. They say to replace those filters every 3 to 6 months, but let's be honest, nobody's going to do that anyway. Next is a problem that is specific only to IKEA wall cabinets. The Microhood is only about 12 inches deep on the base part, and the hooded part sticks out another 3 inches. The problem is that IKEA wall cabinets are 15 inches deep, so you will end up with a gap either behind or in front of the Microhood, which you will have to decide. Unfortunately, IKEA does not sell a 24-inch range hood for their cabinets, only 30-inch ones, as well as 24-inch over-the-range microwaves. So I had to buy the Microhood elsewhere. I decided to leave the gap mostly in the back, since the buttons are in the front, and add some filler wood behind it for aesthetic reasons. But I could not slide it all the way to the front of the cabinet because if you drill holes in the positioning all the way to the front, you could hit the screws inside the wall cabinet, the ones that hold it together. You may forget about these screws unless you look on the sides of the cabinet where your cam locks are, that the screws are inserted into, as you can see in the video. So before you even drill any holes, make sure that they do not align with any of the interior hardware of your wall cabinet. But I guess that's one thing that I cannot blame on the Firegas brand itself, although I'm not sure how the hardware holes line up with other types of wall cabinets that are not as deep. As far as performance, the suction is a little weak, but according to some, you will not find any 24-inch Microhoods that are any better. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure to comment, like, subscribe, share, and click on the links for the Amazon products that are found in the description and/or comments to help support my channel.